Welcome back to video number 2. Oh my, this is just the gift that keeps on giving, this trip to Nigeria. Oh my God. All right. Yeah, we have some con artists being conned by con artists. Let's go. I want to start off with an update on this whole Gavin Newsom story. We all know that Gavin Newsom, who's the governor of California and who's missing billions of dollars, came out in defense of Harry and Meghan. We all saw Meghan stomping off that plane, looking all angry with the phone in her hand. The comments have come out. She was absolutely humiliated, embarrassed, furious. People just don't understand, how did this happen? And even more, why did Gavin Newsom come out in her defense? Now, this person on Twitter, KRS, put up that even with his statement, it does not negate the fact they were overdue by 15 months. They didn't file their annual report, and with the delinquency, they were not allowed to move their funds in or out of Archwell because their charity was considered delinquent. And remember, the dues they paid were for 2022, not for 2023. Those apparently had not yet been paid. Well, what we found out in digging was, first of all, Gavin Newsom had a lot of Hollywood backers that were giving him lots of tax subsidies. That would be Disney, Paramount, and are you ready? Yes, even Netflix. So this guy was raking it in from the Hollywood people. So maybe he felt he had to defend them in some way. Then, of course, we also go back in time to 2021 when Meghan Markle had a Zoom call of over an hour with Gavin Newsom. And when people asked Mr. Newsom what the call was about, he refused to say and said, "Oh, I was just calling to welcome them to California." Really? Did you call to welcome all the Hollywood stars to California when they moved in? Because I don't think you did. Well, just as an FYI, I went on the Attorney General's site and checked, and as of today, which is Sunday, their company is still listed as delinquent and not able to work. So what do you know? If that's true, then the governor stood there and said it was just a technicality and it's already been solved, but that was an out and out lie. They are still delinquent and they're still not supposed to be working. Let's move on to our next story, and I want to start by reminding you something that Harry said while they were in Nigeria. Do you guys remember this?
In-laws. I'll skip the protocol because at this point we're all family.
My goodness, the story just gets worse and worse because one of the people that was there, one of the quote-unquote kings who gave Harry and Meghan gifts, is a convicted fraudster who has twice been thrown out of the United States. His name is Akanbi, and he gave Meghan the title of royalty from across the seas. He actually has a beautiful wife who says she fell in love with him at first sight. Anyway, this man, his own people have called for his dethronement because he's a con man. His ex-wife claims that he did a certain kind of assault against her. He's got cases of intimidation and harassment, and that he's made false allegations against other people. Yeah, and this is one of the kings that Meghan and Harry have taken pictures with. Well, you know, you have a con man doing a con on a woman who's perpetrating a con against the entire Nigerian people. And before we get to our next story, you should know that Harry and Meghan received 2 complimentary flights while they were in Nigeria on a 120-seat aircraft for a 664-mile round trip from Abuja to Lagos on May 12th, which resulted in 12 tons of carbon emissions. Now remember, the global average for carbon emissions is 4 tons per person per year. But what do our global eco-warriors care? Like, remember, they do what they want, do what they say, not what they do. FYI, there were 120 seats on the aircraft and only 19 passengers. Now let's talk about the airline. So as I just explained, they were given complimentary flights while they moved around in Nigeria, and that was done on an airline by the name of Air Peace. But what Harry and Meghan did not know is that they were welcomed by a man who is a fugitive who has been federally indicted by the United States for orchestrating a $20 million money laundering and bank fraud scheme. His name is Dr. Alan Onyema, I think is how you say it. And so that is the airline that Harry and Meghan took from their flight from Abuja to, the next stop. So he was there with the dignitaries, senior military and government officials, and he got his picture taken next to Harry and Meghan. Now, of course, this kind of stuff wouldn't have happened if they were still with the royal family, because the royal family vets everybody. They would have made sure Meghan was dressed appropriately because they would have known the customs of the area, all of that kind of stuff. Now, they're not saying that Harry and Meghan knew about this man or his history, but again, they wouldn't have had to have known, because if they were still with the royal family, that all would have been vetted ahead of time. Had planned to use a different airline, but the plans were changed at the last minute. You have to wonder why the plans were changed. What's being reported is that this man leveraged his status as a prominent business leader, an airline executive, and he used falsified documents to commit fraud. That's how he scammed everybody. Now, the agent in charge, Robert Murphy, he's the agent at the DEA Atlanta Field Division, said, and I'm quoting, that this man's status as a wealthy businessman turned out to be a fraud. He corrupted the U.S. banking system, but his trail of deceit and trickery came to a skidding halt. Now, that indictment goes on to allege that this man set up various innocent-sounding multi-million-dollar asset purchases, which were nothing more than alleged fronts for his scam. Oh, and let me also just throw in, look at this video of them watching the event. Look at the guy up on the top. He had to clap to get them to start clapping. They were just standing there. My God. Now, this man has come out and said that all the allegations against him are false and are no way in line with his character as a person and as a businessman. He said, "My only aim is to build Nigeria and improve well-being. I am innocent of all the charges, and the U.S. government will find no dirt on me because I have never conducted business with any illegalities." Now, while this man is denying it, a woman named Miss Mayfield admitted in her court filing that she helped this man to sign fake documents so that he could perpetrate this $20 million fraud. And what I find even more shocking is that he walked away with $20 million and she only got $20,000. They paid her $20,000 to sign and file the paperwork issue. And she said, it's not the person that I am. And she begged the judge to show her mercy. Oy. Now, if all of this wasn't bad enough, there's an African newsletter that is totally ripping Harry and Meghan's visit apart. They're talking in this about the fact that Meghan wore some readily available African attire for a specific clothing brand. Basically, she was merching. She didn't talk about other parts of the country she had come to identify with. It was pointed out that all the events are a distraction from the real issues, and that if she were really Nigerian to any degree, she would have said something about Nigerians' political, social, and economic troubles while she was talking the whole time, instead of talking about herself constantly. Oh, you can just feel the love Harry has for these people. Look at him. He's like, don't touch me. Get your hands off. All right, you guys know what I want. Put those comments down. Make them good. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button to help with my algorithm. And follow me on over to video number 3. Let's go.